Related to Java 8 features. Hi everyone, welcome to Java Fever. So today we are going to learn new thing which is related to Java 8 concept, to default and static method. It is a very important topic according to interview. So let's get started. So we are going to cover all these topics in this tutorial, which is what is default method, example of default method, what is a static method, example of a static method, difference between default and static method, and coding questions of default and static method. So we are going to cover one by one. So firstly we'll try to understand the core part of default and static method, then we'll do the coding. So please be calm, we'll understand one by one. So what is default method? So before Java 8, interfaces could have only a stack method. Okay. Before Java 8, interfaces could have only a stack method. Okay. But the implementation of these methods has to be provided in a separate class, and you have to provide the implementation of that method in separate class. Okay, that means you have to provide and you have to implement that method. But so if a new method is added in the interface, then it implementation code has to provide in the class implementing the same interface. Okay, so if you are adding anything in your if you are adding any abstract class, any abstract method inside the interface, then you have to implement the same interface in your class, implementing class. Okay, to overcome this issue, Java 8 has introduced the concept of default method, which allows the interfaces to have method with implementation without affecting the class that implement the interface. Okay, so Java 8 introduced one method default method concept. Okay, so there is no need to provide implementation logic inside your implementation class, so that you can write your implementation logic in default method. Okay, in default method you can write in interface, so it is possible after Java 8 onward. Existing The default methods were introduced to provide backward compatibility so that existing interface can use the lambda expression without implementing the method in the implementation class. Okay, so if you don't want to change your previous code, okay, that means the backward compatibility should be there. Then in that scenario, default method will be very helpful, and and it will also support lambda expression. Okay, because only one abstract method will be there. Okay, so in that scenario you can use lambda expression without implementing the method in the implementation class. Default method also known as defender method or virtual extension method. Okay, so and default method provide a way to define common functionality that can be reused across multiple classes, reducing code duplication. Okay, so that means that if you are providing default method inside any interface, so if you are implementing that interface, so you can reuse in every implementation of that interface. Okay, or if you don't want to use same logic, then you can override our own logic and you can write. So this is also way. So we are going to see example of default method. So how can we write one default method? So see, here is the abstract method. Okay, so before Java 8 we can write a stack method inside the any interface. So but after Java 8 we can write default method also inside the Java 8. So what here we are doing, we have already written the implementation of this method inside this Java 8. Okay, default method executed, and this is the abstract method. To only signature is the method signature, there is no method body here. So if you implement this class, this interface in any implementation class, then you have to write the implementation logic of for this square method. Okay, so I have implemented this test interface in this test class. So here stack is square is a stack method. So here we have provided the implementation for this square method in test class. Okay, so we are taking a and we are returning a into a, we are calculating the square. Okay, but if you want to if you want to use default method inside the interface, then you can do like this. So we have created the instance for the test class. Okay, and for if you want to call the concrete method, then we have to call like d dot square. Okay, which is a static method of test class. So we have already implemented a square inside this test class, so we can call like d dot square. So this is our normal, okay, normal scenario. And if you want to call the default method, then we can call like d dot so. Okay, so we have created the object for this test class and we are calling d dot so. So like this we can call the default method. Like this we can declare the default method. Okay, we can write a implementation inside the interface, and like this we can call the default method. So this is the scenario by which we can use default method. So output will be our 16, okay, because we are calling d dot square. So and default method executed. So if you call d dot so, you will get default method executed, and if you call d dot square, you will get the output 16. Okay. So next, what is a static method? So any interview can ask a static method concept after default method concept. So this is also important. So the interface can have a static method as well, which is similar to a static method of classes. Okay. Before Java, it also we can also write the static method. Okay, but it should be in class level. Okay, you can write inside the class. Okay, and static method you can't override. But interface there is but in interface before the Java 8 there is no any feature to write a static method. Okay, but after Java 8 you can write a static method inside interface, same like default method. So in the seed of default method you have to use static method to write a static method. Okay, so belongs to a static. Okay, so belongs to interface. Static methods can be called on the interface directly, not an object implementation implementing the interface. So no need to create the object for the that implementation class. Directly you can call with that of the interface name dot that static method name. Okay, so this is the way to call the static method. Utility function, they are often used for utility or helper function related to the interface. Non override. Okay, static method can't be overridden by implementing classes. Okay, it's the same feature before the Java 8. Okay, so a static method we can't override in Java 8 also. So syntax, what will be the syntax to declare a static method? So this will be the syntax. So static, we have to instead of default, we have to provide the static keyword to create a static method. So like this we can, this is the logic. Okay, so like this we can create, this is the interface. So you can call the method with my interface. This is my interface name, my interface dot static method name. Okay, this is the static method name. So like this we can call, there is no need to call with that of the object of your implementation class. Okay, so example of static method we'll see quickly. So this is the stack method, this is the test interface, interface one stack method, and this is one static method. So we have created with the help of the static keyword, and we have written some logic, static method executed. Okay, and we have implemented this test interface. We have written the logic for the square. Okay, and we are calling here the t dot square, and for calling our static method which is inside the test interface, so no need to call with the help of this d, which is object of test class. Directly you can call with the help of the test interface dot so. So test interface dot so, with the help of the interface name and dot method name, you can call static method. Okay, so I think you understood. So output will be like 16 and a static method executed. Okay, so we are going to see difference between default and static method. So quickly we'll try to understand default method and static method definition. So use the default keywords in an interface. So we have to use default keyword for creating default method, and static method we have to use the static keyword to create a static method. It belongs to instance of implementing class. Okay, so it will belong to instance of implementing class. Then you have to create the instance of your implementing class, which class you are implementing, and it's belong to itself. So no need to create any object for that, you can directly call. So invocation, so call on an instance of the implementing class. Okay, so you have to call on the instance of the implementing class and call on the interface directly. So you can call with the help of the interface name dot method name, static method name. Overriding can be overridden by implementing classes, so you can override the default method, it is possible. and can't be overridden. So static method you can't override. Use cases to provide a default implementation, okay, and utility or helper methods for the static method. Default method you can get default like this: default, void, return type, and method name. So like this you can create default method, and static method you can create instead of default you can use static. Okay, so like this. So we are going to see coding, coding wise. So how can you create default method, how can you create a static method, can you with lambda expression. Okay, and we are going to see some couple of questions. So let's get started quickly. So I have created one interface, okay, which is interface one. So we have created method one. Okay, let me remove this all these things. Okay, so just now I created one interface and one method is there, which is method one. Okay, so this is function interface for making the interface as a function interface. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to override this method inside one implementation class. So I have written one implementation class which is default test. Okay. So how can we implement like this? We have to implement interface one. Okay. Then we will get here. We are getting option to we are getting error because we have to override the abstract method which is available in interface one. So we have one interface which is interface one, and inside the interface one we have method one. Okay, so method one we are going to write some logic. Okay, like we are going to print this out method one. Okay, so how can we call this? So main, we can create the object for this default test, and we can call default test is equal to new default test. So I'm going to call this method with the help of this instance. Okay, so we'll try to understand how we can use default method and why we need default method. So we are trying to understand. So method one, there is a method one inside default test. So I'm going to call this method which is available in interface one with the help of. Okay, let me run, it's working or not correct, then we will move forward. Okay, method one is working. Okay, so why we need default? Because everything is working fine here. Okay, so if in default in interface one we have only one method which is method one. So in future if you want to add some more method, abstract method inside the interface one. Okay, maybe if you got some other features. Okay, so if you want to add, so what will happen? So we are going to add a method 2 inside interface one. So see, we are getting some message. Okay, the type default test must implement the inherited abstract method interface one dot method 2. Okay, so it should be implemented here. Okay, because we have already we are doing here implements interface 2. So it's mandatory to override method 2 in your implementation class. So if you are doing any changes in interface, okay, then you have to implement. So that means your code will break. Okay, in real cases you may have 100 to 200 classes. Okay, so that will implement your interface. Okay, so in that scenario in every classes you have to implement this method, because you have changed you have added one new method inside interface one. So it's not possible. So Java people introduce default method to avoid such type of the scenario. So in this scenario you can use default keyword. Okay, so instead of the public default def default. Okay, so if you use default method, so what will happen? So here you can write the our logic, so no need to write logic inside the implementation class. So here inside the interface you can write your logic. So going to write this out default method from interface one. method default method 2 from interface 1. Misplaced construct. Okay, we are getting okay, so we have to provide here bracket. Okay, because so we can make here public. Okay, so now we have written one method 2 inside interface 1. So method 2 will be a new feature for the interface 1. Okay, so we have implemented this interface 1 in default test. Okay, so we are not getting any error here, we are not getting message. That means the no need to override. Okay, so if you want to use that default method feature inside or any implementation class, then we can use with the help of, we have created the instance, okay, of your implementation class default test dot. How can you use call invoke? Okay, so dot, we have default method name was mm, method 2, I think. Okay, so method 2 was default method. So let's call and check it's working or not. So we are calling default method 2 from interface 1. So we are able to execute default method. Okay, with that of this we can call, we have to. And we have another scenario which is a static method. So why we need a static method, we will also try to understand. In interface 1 we have written method 2 as a default method. Okay, so why we need, so in, if you want to call this, so if you want to call this method 2, so you have to create the instance of your implementation class and then we can call. Okay, so it's not so if you don't want to call with the help of the object creation, then you can use a static method. So let's write one method which is method 3 quickly. Method 3, okay, from interface 1. So it will be a static method. So like this we can create a static method. Instead of default we can use static keyword. Okay, so memory for this static will be allocated at the time of the class loading only. Okay, so no need to create the object for this implementation class. Method 3 we are calling from implementation, so we'll call from here. So how can we call, can we call, we can call with the help of this interface name dot method 3. Okay, so we are getting here interface name dot method 3. Let me run and check it's working or not. Static method, see, static method 3 from interface 1. So we are able to call a static method from, with that of the interface only we are able to call. So no need to use uh, instance of your implementation class which is default test. So this is the way we can call. So are we getting, are we getting any default method? Okay, with the help of the interface name, let's check. So we are getting only method 3. Method 3 is a static method. So we are getting here method 3. Okay, so we can't call any default method with the help of interface. So if you want to call the default method, then we have to create the instance for that implementation class and then we can call. So because of that we are not getting here method 2, we are getting only method 3. And so we have written default method also and a static method also. So in interface we have only one static class which is method 1. Okay, so we can make it a that function interface. Okay, because in function interface only one abstract method should be available. If it is more than one abstract method, then it's not a function interface. So because of only one functional interface, only one abstract method available in functional interface, then you can write your lambda expression code in your implementation class. So this is one advantage for, this is one advantage for using default method and static method. Okay, So only one abstract method will be available inside your functional interface. So let me write one lambda expression for this interface one, okay, because still it's a function interface. We have not written any method, okay, more than one method. So how can we write here? So we are going to write quickly. So interface one, okay, enter, going to use method one will be, it will point to method one because only one stack method inside this enter, okay. So sys out hello, hello from lambda expression. So I'm going to comment this, okay, and we'll check. I'm also going to comment this, okay, and I have written only one lambda expression, okay, for our interface one. So only one method is available inside, only one abstract method is inside, inside interface one, which is method one. So we are going to call, we have written the logic with the help of the lambda expression. So let me call and check is it working good or not. Enter sys out, okay. So we have to call this enter dot, then we'll get method one, okay, because in method one we implemented this logic but we are not calling, so we are not getting, okay. Let me call and then run, okay. So we are getting hello from lambda expression, okay. So this is also advantage of a default method because it did not change the uh, it did not change the function interface feature, okay. That means still your interface is a function interface because only one method is available. And if you want to write any other logic, so you can write with the help of the any other implementation method, then you can write with the help of the default method and static method. So I think you understood everything. So if you're loving my effort, please like, share and subscribe. So thanks for watching.